Shing, trying to get some kind of synergy in the top side, and they did have a very good 2-0 against the likes of V5, you know, earlier on, I would say 2 weeks ago at this stage, but it has been a rough split for them, and what we say, you know, coming in for TT is an improvement. If they can look competitive, like you said, even if they do lose, it would still be considered a relative upset and a good showing from the side of TT.
Now we are in the draft. Already a bunch of expected bans coming out. The things left open are still the Akali, the Set, and the Nocturne. So one of those champions is going to go through. I feel like we've seen it typically either be the Nocturne or the Akali in most recent series. Before it was the Set that would always find its way through. But another interesting champion this draft is actually the Volibear, because both of these teams have a very high priority going onto the Volibear. It's Lil Yen's most played champion, it's Longxing's most played champion, so I really want to keep my eyes open for that one. But with TT's ban, 2 power picks go through, the Set and the Akali. I would expect a trade for these picks to come out for either side.
See how they kind of decide to go for this one here. RA are hovering it at the moment. Fofo very, very prominent on this pick, has picked it up a couple of times and shown that he knows how to use it, as we are moving now onto the side of TT. And I don't think they're going to lock in the Gangplank just yet. Seems like a bit of an early pickup there if they do decide to lock that one in. But like you said, still plenty of power picks available, and, you know, we haven't even looked at really the bot lane. The only thing kind of blocked away has been the Varus. The Ezreal's still there. LeBlanc has been traded away, like you said, something that we've seen many, many times, and Thresh going to be locked in as well.
Yeah, and this is really surprising. You know, this is typically where a team would bring out the Set and the Diana combo, something that is incredibly strong right now. I think especially the Diana has looked totally insane. TT wanting to go with the LeBlanc. It's a champion that, yeah, has a 100% win rate on. It's something we have seen increase in Prio in recent weeks. You pair it up alongside a very early game ganking skirmishing jungler, so typically that is put with something like the Volibear that we touched on, and then you start getting action early and try to snowball off of that one. So TT picking that one up, also taking away the Thresh is a bit curious to me, because SamD has pretty much been an Ezreal one-trick this split, and all of TT's game wins have been on Ezreal. The 8 other AD carries that he's played have all been losses, but Rare Adam, in response, wanting to take away the Aphelios, not wanting to give that one over, but it is going to make for a much more, I'd say, awkward bot lane combo, so they are going to lock in the Nautilus alongside it, but going to have no peel on this composition, and RA are setting up for a comp that wants to go completely forward. So iBoy will be left to his own devices to figure out how he can deal with the LeBlanc in these team fights.
I was just about to say, this Aphelios is going to be left high and dry should everyone end up going all in onto the backside. And TT have enough.
Do it.
They do
yes,
it.
They did it.
There it is, the Rek'Sai.
It's something I always love to see. Xiaopeng, Korean challenger, Rek'Sai main. This guy pulls it on every split. He's already played it so far this split as well, so it's not surprising. But, you know, it's a champion that a lot of people don't think is in the best spot. We had Dom on the last hit, and he said, you know, as a Rek'Sai player, I think this champion is atrocious right now. But with Xiaopeng's level of comfort on this champion, I think it's something you just always expect to see come out from TT. And at least logically, right, you have the LeBlanc in the mid lane, you have mixed damage, you have an early game ganking jungler to try to help snowball through this mid 2v2, look for roams on the map, maybe invade the enemy jungle, look for plays on side lane. So TT's composition making sense thematically, even if in terms of the meta, it might not be in the best spot right now.
And you can see the bans from the side of TT as well. They're taking away those early skirmishes, those high priorities in the early game. The Olaf, the Volibear, these things that can, you know, just oppress something like a Rek'Sai, and leaving things open like the Diana. Yeah, it's fine. It'll do okay into it, but doesn't really have that pre-level 6 skirmishing power that you would see from the rest of the picks. As we can see now, RA taking away that AD carry pool. The Jinx ban, I like that, of course. Great combination with the Thresh and the Kalista there as well. Just stopping the all-in potential here, including the AD carry.
I'll be honest, I have no idea what SamD goes for right now with those bans coming out. A lot of the traditional pairings with the Thresh are taken away. Right now, hovering the Draven, it's something we've seen so far this week. We've even seen the Draven Thresh lane come out from top eSports bottom lane, so it's not out of the realm of possibility, but in the end, gonna bring out an Ashe. Not something we really see in the meta. Their comp so far, a ton of kill pressure coming out, right? Once you hit the level 6 mark, I mean, you have your burst damage coming out from mid jungle. You have CC setup coming on your bot lane. One great thing about Ashe is she's one of your AD carries who can pretty much guarantee you prio just from the low cooldown and how easily it is to spam your volley and push waves in. So TT setting up for a very unique plan so far. Rare Atom in response are still all ending on this composition that really just wants to run forward, isolate you, and lock you down with that Camille lock-in. And that does open up potential for an AP jungler to come out. Right now, hovering the Diana, I think it is something that would be quite nice with the amount of bans that have been put towards the jungle role.
And we have seen 6 picks globally, I believe, and 2 bans onto the Ashe, so about 8. So she's kind of creeping into this meta of 11.13, kind of slowly making herself known up into the AD carry pool as we do see teams start to pinch it out in the later stages of the game. And now we'll see what the side of TT want to respond with after the Camille and Diana has been picked. Gwen would not be a terrible pick, but I do prefer the Gragas because it mitigates a lot of that kill pressure in that top side.
I'm just so surprised to see this composition. This is straight out of 2017 spring coming in. An Ashe in the bot lane to get you prio. High damage mid-jungle duo that looks for early pressure. You have your front line up in the top side. Gragas can pretty much survive almost any lane matchup. You just have so much disengage, sustain. You have a decent amount of like wave clear and poke in early laning phase comparatively to most top laners. The ultimate to try to outplay some dives. So for TT, it is all about the early game. They're all inning on that one. I think it does make sense when you are not a favorite, rather than going for late game scaling, where I think that's more typical in other regions when you're a lower tier team. I think here in the LPL, there's just such a high chance for you to get snowballed on, and these players still on the side of TT, right? Still very strong mechanical players. If they can get that early game lead, get it to like 3 to 5K at the 20-minute mark, there's always a chance for TT to pull off an upset.
Absolutely, and I think for TT, picking up something like the Ashe with the dive ability of the LeBlanc and the Rek'Sai and so forth, it does create that kind of pick composition that can even bring you further and further ahead should you find that lead. You get a couple of extra kills, you get staggered death times, you pick up a dragon or two, the game feels an awful lot more in your favor. But for RA, I feel like if they just keep the boat steady, if they just do their laning phase properly, they should be able to come out of this mid to late game team fights absolutely swimmingly.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy just for the fact that I'm not a huge fan of the Aphelios in RA's comp. They picked it up as a takeaway, right? They didn't want TT to have that champion alongside the Thresh, but we already hit on how they have a very dive-heavy composition. LeBlanc, Nautilus, Camille, Diana, all of these champions want to be all inning onto SamD, so iBoy's going to be left to his own devices. We know iBoy. iBoy loves to play as aggressive as he can. If it goes late enough, I think he will have the amount of damage and sustain to survive the burst and, 200 years all over TT's roster. But in the early game, he's going to be vulnerable.
Going to be very, very vulnerable as we are jumping onto the Rift for game 1 of this best of 3 between Rare Atom and ThunderTalk. And it could be a big win for TT if they're able to get that scalp down, but for RA, you would imagine that anything but as you said, a convincing 2-0 would be definitely considered questionable to most people within the league. I'm curious now to see how these two junglers go, because the Rek'Sai is something that we haven't seen that much of globally for quite a while, and we talked about it a little bit, of course, during Champ Select, but it is that kind of pick that if it's let go behind, if it doesn't make any kind of early plays, it does feel a little bit useless.
The thing about Rek'Sai, though, is, right, you have so many different angles to gank from just with how your burrow works. He's one of the junglers who can go for a 3-camp clear, hit level 3, get a gank off into one of his lanes, and start snowballing early on. So, always causes a bit of mind games, especially in a meta like this where you do have so many full clear junglers. I still remember at MSI, I think it was the game that Cloud9 took off RNG, that RNG just looks so baffled that someone can gank at level 3. They're like, what is this? That full clear, 6 camps, we don't see each other until about 4 minutes. So it'd be nice to see how Xiaopeng can navigate that one, and if he can find anywhere that does set up that kind of gank, is pathing down towards his bottom side. But as we hit on, this Ashe and Thresh lane should very comfortably push in the Aphelios and Nautilus.
Not only that, should be able to get the push in, but also you see there the hawk shot at level 2 there from Sam D, just scouting out exactly where Leanne is. You're able to pretty much set that right across pretty much 4 camps at this stage of the game when you're pushed up this far, and it just gives you so much information to TT. So little small things like that that people sort of forget about Ashe, the utility you gain with this champion. It isn't built to be the hyper carry, full, you know, damage comp, you know, that you get something like a Felios, but more so built towards pick comps and facilitating the rest of your team.
To be honest, though, it's one of the reasons why I always love when Ashe is a staple of the meta, because you just bring so much to a coordinated game. Because, right, you still offer DPS, you're still a normal AD carry, you build crit, you're going to be able to deal damage later on. You have an engage tool in the ultimate, and we all remember days of people like Prey and what he's able to do on that pick. The hawk shot that you mentioned and how much utility that brings to your jungler and being able to play around the map, and even your other laners of how they can play around potential ganks coming in. So I think it's a really cool champion. Hopefully it can work out for TT, as they're actually setting up a dive mid.
Oh, Fofo respecting it, immediately flashes away. The ignite did go down, and Xiaopeng just going to push away the wave, but they can't stay underneath the tower, as did take quite a bit of damage, and they did know that Diana was hovering in that top side. But good move here from the side of TT, getting that early prio that we talked about in that mid lane.
I mean, TT need it though, right? Because they're the composition that's on the timer. They need to get ahead early. Xiaopeng just gonna look for non-stop opportunities.
Oh, flash flay, flash on Burrow. The TP going to be coming out the backside. They do take the first blood, but it's immediately traded back. And now you can see with the TP here, Fofo going to be able to do a little bit more work here. It goes back in on the Shuriken flip. Has got himself the extra energy through the Shroud. Hung is not going to land himself the dredge line. Flash away there by Sam D, but a trade again back of a 1-for-1. Sorry, 2-for-1, excuse me.
And it's really unfortunate because they went for this play right after the mid lane gank came off. After the mid lane gank, was too low. He went for the recall. That opens up a window for Fofo to look for the recall as well. But the difference is Fofo took TP in this matchup. He knows he doesn't have any kill pressure on the LeBlanc, and he's able to react to the play. So TT getting punished for their overaggression, not really accounting in the summoner spell difference coming in mid lane. We need to remember, though, Xiaopeng's not done.
Xiaopeng is everywhere. A nice combination. And this is exactly what you talked about when you said you picked the Rex side.
I just can't believe he comes straight onto the map. He's like, okay, well, Camille's over pushing in top lane. I'm going to look for this. Now going to be able to turn towards his camps. But what I want to direct our attention to is actually the CS devs in the mid lane, right? Because Fofo paid an opportunity cost for going for that gank down in bot. He is going to be losing out more heavily in this mid lane matchup.
Gonna have to wait a little bit for those minions to get back into his favor, or of course wait for Leanne to get something going. You can see Leanne hovering around this mid side quite a bit, knowing that the LeBlanc is going to be pushing in, but not really going to be able to garner much more from it. I feel like pre-6 Diana very heavily relies on her laners to be able to set up the gank to make it a success or not, especially when you have so much mobility on something like a LeBlanc. And for RA, they're going tit for tat. They're not unhappy with the way things are going, but I'm loving this from Xiaopeng right now. TT bringing the aggression, even went with the early serrated Dirk, just straight away saying, look, I don't need boots, I don't need to get faster clears or extra cooldown reduction. I need damage, I need to be influencing the rest of my lanes. Yeah,
he's completely playing to snowball this game. It's even interesting because I think in his first game, he was actually one of the people who went the Stride Breaker. It's the other item you typically go in Rek'Sai, and you go the more bruiser-oriented route. But I think when you look at these compositions, he knows the role that he needs to play early on. Rare Adam, like you said, though, doing a respectable job of getting down some defensive wards, and they know they're fine. Just scaling, just playing this one out. I'm surprised Lilian has taken so many opportunities to look for ganks, just for the fact that you really don't need to as a side of RA. I think for Rare Adam, you should just be looking to get further ahead.
Well, they're looking for it again. This bot side, as we can see now, gets himself the hook onto Hong, who has to get himself away. Xiaopeng is there. No one goes down. No summoners were burned, or no summoners were available to be burned from either side. And we'll see now RA still searching for this. Xiaopeng in this bush, though, not seen, but I don't think the side of RA are going to be sticking around for too much longer.
And I was going to say, I feel like as RA, you should be looking to get ahead in terms of just jungle camps, okay? Xiaopeng's going to put a time into these early games. Ganks, just keep cycling through your camps as Lilian. Try to build that level lead if hopefully he's not able to find any of the ganks he's looking for. He's not getting any EXP from his laners. But Lil Yen has been hovering around, especially mid quite a bit. But we're going to see the replay here. Ooh. Goes in, has the Moonfall available. Neither TT bot laner has a summoner spell, so I can understand why they look for this, but Death Sentence comes out. They don't have enough damage early on, especially coming out from iBoy, and both of TT's bot laners are able to live.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate there by Hong. He ended up dredge lining a minion, the lollipopping not working in his favor for the first time ever on the Nautilus, and yeah, it just sadly doesn't equal anything there. I like the idea from RA in terms of if they do land their hook, they probably do end up getting a kill there and being able to get the push in. You know, getting the Aphelios a little bit of an advantage is always a good sign. But wasn't to be, and now we see TT knowing that they have topside prio as the Camille just had to recall. They are going to start up this Rift Herald.
Yeah, and so RA's bot lane is going to be here first, but Cube is a little bit behind on the play.
Oh, they look for the hook and they immediately delete Hong straight away, and there's now no real kind of way you can contest this from RA. They're just too late on the priority of this. That being said, though, the Rift Herald will reset, so yes, they cannot realistically contest it, but they are being very annoying.
I also don't really like the way Rare Adam set this one up, because if you're going to look to contest this, I feel like the only reason you go for this play is because, you know, you're going to be there first, you know, you're going to have the numbers advantage. But we saw that Cube had already started to path towards bot side. So Cube actually would have arrived at the same time as Sam D. So you're actually just having a straight up normal 5v5 where we've already seen that TT do have the stronger early composition, that TT have been able to get a bit more items in the early game, especially onto Xiaopeng. And then they just end up walking in, Hung gets picked off, and you just gave TT everything they wanted when you could have just made the trade side play towards the bottom half of the map, get some deep vision, maybe take a drag, you know, or just get some plates onto someone like iBoy. But instead, you just lost out even more.
Yeah, kind of the big crutch, I suppose, from a lot of teams that I'm seeing from a lot of our top teams, that they just don't really know how or when to fight around this Rift Herald. It seems to be a massive issue for a couple of teams. They seem to be throwing away decent advantages, but Prowler's Claw has been picked up here for Xiaopeng, so he's going to be looking with those magical boots of swiftness to be able to try and get himself into positions to be able to make this one work for his team. But with Santi left all on his lonesome on this top side, they are still going to be able to get these plates down here for iBoy. And it's a nice bit of gold going back into the pockets of RA, but the trade-off is going to be this first Infernal Drake for TT.
Yeah, a bit of an awkward reset timing coming out from Pudding because of that Herald play that TT made. Still, not going to be too big of a deal, I think, for RA. That feels really nice, but I'd still love to see RA just go back to, hey, you're fine just getting down your defensive wards. I think the thing that should be in your mind right now is where's Xiaopeng going to look to make this Herald play? Just look to reactively counteract that one, but RA just want to keep going.
They want to keep going, and on top of it, they've got the Moonfall. They're not able to, the Moonlight Vigil. They're not able to make that one work, but they do blow the heal and flash away from this bot side. Sam D only got his flash available. You can see the wraparound. They're looking for it again. Hong waiting a couple of seconds till he has his Aftershock available till they go into this. The minion wave not quite there, though. And now the TPs and the jungler are here for TT. The flash away from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to be good to keep him alive. The body bop does not hit enough of a player, but he does land himself the explosive cast. And that's going to be Xiaopeng with his 4th kill of the game.
And this time it was RA who didn't account for the TP advantage that Longxing had. We even saw that play took so long to set up that Xiaopeng had time to go all the way across the map. Remember, he was just on Dragon, just completely ran up all the way there because RA were trying to set up the wait for it. Lo Yen wasn't exactly there the first time when Hung looked for that engage. Cube going to be able to answer with some plates on the bottom side of the map, and gold is still even, so it's not getting out of control just yet, but the small picks for TT are going to be the things that give their composition hope.
And this is where you start to get a little bit worried if you're on the side of RA. You know, yes, you're equal on gold. It's still, you know, fine in that regard, but TT are getting momentum. TT are getting these kills onto Xiaopeng's Rek'Sai, which will be able to one-shot this, you know, Aphelios, because we mentioned in the Champ Select, there is no peel, there is no real protection there for that Aphelios. So if iBoy gets caught and Fofo is as far behind as he is now, he's not really going to be in a position to be able to counteract it.
I also love that TT are just deciding to give the plates here. Gonna be really nice when he is able to pick up a first item, get that Loonies, and then be that dive buddy alongside to where both of you have such an easy time of being able to get onto the back line. And also you're keeping RA's best player down. Fofo, the highlight player of Rare Atom right now, a top 5 mid laner in the LPL, one of the best laning mid laners we have, able to play absolutely everything. So if you're going to prevent that, it feels like RA do have a lot less firing power, where I think all the other members of RA are fine to, like, I'd say good in LPL. They're all, like, upper echelon in terms of, like, where you probably rank them on the list in their respective roles. But Fofo really being the only one who's shown the ability to consistently take over games.
The man is a one-man army when he wants to be, and this Akali is definitely a pick that can do it, but it needs time, it needs money, and more importantly, it needs resources. And this is something that if TT can deny, if TT can continue to get dragons, get Rift Heralds, get team fights even in skirmishes, this Akali pick just won't be given the platform to flourish. And from the moment, TT are doing a pretty decent job of that. It is still only a 300 or so gold lead for them, and a dragon as well, so definitely waiting to see if they can do much more with it. And Cube is still stacking with that Divine Sunderwear, so still getting those items underneath him to make him a massive side wave threat. And Longsheng not going for the patented Xiaohu top lane all AP Gragas, gonna go instead for the tank engage Gragas, which honestly I much prefer given this composition. His job is basically to make sure that LeBlanc and the Ashe can find the priority targets and kill them off.
Exactly. That's why even more of this comp just is a throwback to 2017, because it was tank Gragas almost every single game back then. We need to hold because TT are posturing for this, but they just don't know that they're sitting right on top of Hung's ward, so they're not going to find anything. And the longer the game is even, the more it actually means that RA is winning. I think the good side of this for RA is the fact that... Wait, hold on. Fofo coming in with a TP, but... Actually, nothing gonna happen. So what this TP does is it keeps them having tempo on the map, right? Typically, when you do go for a reset, it gives the enemy team a window to where they can make a play. You know that TT actually had some resets of themselves with the egg going back. They were aware of that with the fact that he was hovering on that ward topside. He realistically wouldn't walk to mid, or you would have seen him walk to mid. So gonna utilize that, keep tempo, be able to take this turret top, while also not lose anything in the mid lane.
Not losing anything in the mid lane, and you can see the trade was very clear from the side of Rare Atom. They said, we're going to go for that first turret gold and the Rift Herald, and we'll give you that second Drake. We do not care about it right now, and they'll take the risk as they go later on into this game, as we can start to see first full items, mythics being picked up by pretty much everybody on the side of Rare Atom, whereas TT, they're kind of lacking in that department just a little bit when it comes to a couple of their players.
Yeah, definitely not where they want to be right now in terms of those. Bit surprising we see Sam D go with the Immortal Shield Bow. I guess it makes sense because Ashe's other alternative is typically the Kraken Slayer. And when you look at RA's composition, not really anything that warrants the tank busting that item brings. Q gonna be punished.
Oh, he is going to be punished. He's going to be dropped down to use the Hextech Ultimatum, but it's just not going to be enough. Xiaopeng, he flashes, but he's just not enough healing in him, and he is going to drop. It ends up being a one-for-one trade, and you're happy with that if you're RA. You took the fight, and you came out pretty much on top.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Xiaopeng had a shutdown. You would assume he probably did, so if that is the case, then Cube definitely coming out ahead. I mean, you are anyway, just for the fact that TT are the ones who invested resources into that play. And even going back to that prior Dragon and Rift Herald play, that really hurts TT's momentum, because for TT right now, you want and need RA to contest you at every objective. You love when Dragon or Herald's up because it pulls RA into you, and you can start utilizing the power spikes of your champions to get down the deep vision that we see that they have in bottom side, to utilize those pick tools like the LeBlanc jumping over walls, landing a chain, and setting up for Rek'Sai to come in. But RA were smart that time. They knew they didn't have to go for that. They made that tempo play on top. They got Herald. And I think plays like that, where they're looking to trade on the opposite side of the map, are what RA should be looking for the next few minutes and the next few objectives. I guess now it's kind of hard because you've given TT 2 Drakes, so realistically you can only give over one more. That's about your wiggle room. But For the disparity in terms of like scaling, I don't think it's a big deal if RA do decide to give that one up, but knowing RA and how this game's went, Penguin, I feel like they're going to fight.
They have to fight. We're going to see another one coming in. We can see Xiaopeng jumping in onto Fofo. They know exactly where he is as they have got the sweeper going. TP going to be committed here as well as Lian jumps in. Fofo jumps back with the perfect execution. We're going to see the ult committed here by Xiaopeng as he jumps straight back on top of Fofo, who has not been killed. The explosive cast, not enough. The Moonlight Vigil does whiff, and now the TP going to be coming in. That's going to be Camille on this backside, and now underneath the turret, you can see Lian gets himself alive, out and ready to go back into this fight. Yeah, and Xiaopeng needs to run away. You can see this Nautilus hungry for more, and it's going to be the Gragas who gets caught alongside the Rek'Sai. Oh, dearie me, it was all going so well until it wasn't, Jordan. It was all so good for TT, but now they're starting to fall apart.
And I just can't believe that Fofo survived that long. Akali, a great champion at making time with that Shroud, playing well on the edge of a lot of TT's abilities coming out, and then knowing that they can take the re-engage despite the fact that so many of their champions were low. Hung still charging forward to find the engage. They pick up a few kills. They're going to drop Herald down mid, so this one should be relatively easy for iBoy to break down. He doesn't even really have to be afraid of putting in Sam D because of how low they are, and he has Cleanse and Flash available. So, alright, making good counter moves on the Rift so far. The gold went very quickly from even to now a 3k gold lead in the side of her Adam.
Well, yeah, looking to see if he can catch somebody out. Cube, he's going to have the hook shot. The distortion is enough to keep him in line with the ethereal chain, and now with no flash available or Hextech ultimatum here for Cube, just kind of waiting for his cooldown, but he has got so much damage. Yeah, cannot stay here. He has to back away, and you can see Cube already starting to get to that unbeatable or undealable kind of position in a side lane on this Camille.
And we are going to get a replay of what we saw earlier. Fofo getting caught out. I mean, Xiaopeng was waiting in that brush for quite a while to look for the play. RA are the ones who go for the re-engage, but Fofo's already chunked solo just from the combination of Ye and Xiaopeng. Really nice use of the stopwatch coming out from Fofo, and then he's able to escape with the flash. But this is the part I'm more surprised of for Rare Adam, is that, right, you see how many of them get chunked. Lil Yen should be considered out of the fight. Fofo should be considered out of the fight, but RA know that they can still win it. Hung is still charging forward. Longxing doesn't have the damage. He did build full tank, so they have confidence that he can't just turn on them and look for the kill. We're going to come back onto the Rift, and Dragon's up in 30 seconds. It feels like we've quickly gotten to the point where TT have been outpaced, but they still do have the burst.
Lian just using the Proto Belt there to get himself out of harm's way of the enchanted crystalline arrow. And that's a big engage tool not available now for the side of TT. And you're looking at 2 items on this Aphelios. You're looking at, you know, the 2.5 items onto the Camille. You can't really go into this. And actually love this adaptation here from Hong. Goes straight for the Zhonya's Hourglass. Does not need his Mythic at all straight away, because he knows that he is just has to be survivability. He needs to just constantly be CCing people down to create space and time for the cooldowns of RA. And TT take the trade. They're going to be able to crack open this mid lane tier 1 in trade of that first Cloud Dragon.
Yeah, so TT gonna make the smart response, knowing they can't fight RA. You hit on how the Enchanted Crystal Air was gone, and Longxing at the time didn't have his explosive cask available, so you didn't have any engage tools other than hitting some kind of death sentence, or yeah, just looking for a chain over the wall, and then Xiaopeng committing if he did find a priority target like iBoy, and then hopefully bursting them out to start off an engage where you have numbers advantage. But that's not gonna happen. Xiaopeng though, not gonna find anything, and Longxing wasting the ultimate. To be fair to him, there realistically isn't any objective on the map unless, I guess I'm wrong. I didn't think Rare Adam were just gonna run straight towards the Baron, but they have Aphelios, they have the
Camille
decent
and the
gun
Diana
sport available.
Yeah, they've got so much auto-attack damage. You can see now TT very aware it's going down, and then it's going to be smited away there by Lian. He gets himself the kill, and committing 2 people, the jungler and the top laner, into that bot side. Just immediate decision from RA. Great decisiveness there from them.
Look, Penguin, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to talk about this game like it's over, but I do want to say I feel like Rare Adam are in an extremely good position. I feel like there's some positive takeaways for the start of TT, which is I love when Xiaopeng picks Rek'Sai because it's extremely fun to watch, and he's great on the champion. Got to 5-3. There's there's some silver linings, but 5k gold lead, you lost the Baron. The Aphelios is so far ahead of this Ashe. 2.5 items compared to 1.5 items on Sam D, though I think Sam D is sitting on quite a bit of gold, so should be able to pick something up when he does look for the back. But we even saw in the last gank on top lane, right, that it was so hard for them to even try to burst out Cube. And as TT at this point, your composition really only has one strat, which is, okay, Xiaopeng and Ye group up on a side lane, try to find a pick, turn that pick into something else. If that strat doesn't work out, you don't really have anything else left in your deck of cards.
Yeah, it feels like even if they do get the perfect team fight where hypothetically they get on top of iBoy and they're able to burst him down, you still have to deal with a 2-item Diana, a 2-item Camille, a 2-item Macaulay, and now they're going to look for Cube as the explosive cast does come down on top of the Camille, but look at the damage he's able to use. But Hextech Ultimatum was used on top of the Edge of Night, and Xiaopeng picks up the spoils. We now see trying to get himself away with all of his mobility, but there's just no escaping the Dredge line. They are going to be able to take that one down. Hong picks himself up his kill, goes into Zhonya's just to reset the turret, and now we can see the TP, which will be finished as they go straight in on top of this Gragas. Now Fofo goes golden. That's 2 Zhonya's. Hooks used, as has the box been dropped. iBoy is still very, very healthy. They are going to back themselves away, so it is still a 1-for-1, but this, defense, or the base, I suppose, from TT is just being torn apart, and they're being ripped apart to shreds, really, across this map.
Yeah, but they want to contest. They know that they just need to keep flipping this game.
Oh, here's the TP as well. Xiaopeng forced to flash away. The Moonlight Vigil not going to connect as the Dark Passage used to perfection here from TT. But RA, they're moving up the gears. They know they've got the items. They know they have the horsepower to push it back against TT. And TT, they're struggling to keep up.
And we saw they made a bit of a deviation in their plan, right? They're like, hey, instead of looking for a pick around, RA are actually playing towards their strong side of the map, which is around the Akali. So I can't play around that. They're going to have at least equal numbers to where we know we don't win out. Looks for the play around Longxing. And it kind of catches RA off guard. They're able to find the pick on Cube. We saw it. They're not able to actually translate it into anything. In that rare Adam will always be able to make a trade on the opposite side of the map where they are able to get more because they're the team that is ahead in tempo. They're able to get their vision down already because they're the team that has the pushing lanes because they have more items and they're able to win skirmishes. So you're always going to be put in a losing situation as CT unless you're able to find some kind of unexpected pick.
Oh, hook for hook into the mid lane as Pudding and Hong show each other their hooking capabilities. Pudding does come out the worse for wear, I think is the fair assessment of that particular bout. And now with 26 seconds until this dragon spawns, Rare Adam find themselves with total control over this bot side of the river. Trying to find himself a little bit of a flank angle, but I don't really know if it's really going to equal anything. You can see there with the Riftmaker as well. Fofo just becomes so difficult to take down. He's even picked up the Merc Tread, so a little bit of extra magic resistance, a little bit more tenacity, a little more action, please. And it's just not really going to be much more else happening for the side of TT. I feel like they've missed their boat. They're now just, sitting on the island waiting for the ultimate demise.
I mean, they have, right? Anything we criticize them about going forward is very hard because they just don't have the options available to them. They can't really play through side lanes. They could try to send up towards top side. It doesn't have TP if anything broke out in mid or bot, though, so that's already one issue. And then RA can just try to hard force on mid or bot themselves and be able to push faster than Ye would be able to do anything topside. They can look for cheesy brush plays, which is what it looks like they're going to do. But typically that only works if something like a Baron or a Dragon's up and you could try to predict the brush they're going to walk to because there's something on that side of the map. We'll see if Lil Yen walks into his topside jungle, but no real reason to do so right now.
Yeah, the top lane is pushed in as well. A lot of minions being lost here by TT, and RA have no reason to face check. They can just keep walking forward.
Yeah, and they do it right. Walk through mid because they know none of the enemies showing on sideways, right? You don't see them bot when you have Camille there. You have this massive wave top that no one's picking up, so that's like a bit of a head scratcher. I wonder where they are. So they just walk through mid. They know that TT are most likely in one quadrant of their jungle. Push and get rid of vision that way, and then TT forces it back.
That's so much damage. That is a tanky Gragas, Frostfire Gauntlet, and the Thornmail completed. And he just got 1/3 of his health taken down with one rotation of spells by the Camille. absolutely absurd damage. And we can see now Leanne looking to see if he can take away the Raptors, but not able to do so. And see again with this our Baron spawning in 20 seconds or a little bit less. This is going to be RA kind of just saying, yeah, we can take this Baron, no problem. And Cube can get himself out, no issues whatsoever. They're going to commit fully on top of him. Xiaopeng trying to get himself away. Yeah, is there, as they're going to be able to get the Ethereal Chain on max range and the hook. So they will take down the top laner. But while that's been happening, they're 3-manning the Baron, and this goes down very, very quickly with a 3-item Aphelios.
And it's even worse than before. Right now they have Crescendum and Severum, so the absolute best guns for being able to deal DPS on the Baron. TT need to try and find a fight right now, though, because they have numbers advantage. It's really the only opportunity they have.
Oh, the hook lands, but the cleanse is good for my boy, so he keeps himself safe. Flash forward, though, and we're going to see themselves immediately engaged with the Moonfall. There's Pudding falling. He is now a puddle on the floor, and Fofo popping off again on this Akali pick, just doing so much. Yeah, gets himself his fancy feet and gets himself out, but 4 people fall. RA have everything.
And it was TT's only chance to find something, but still, the item advantage on Rare Adam is too much. It's just a stats diff at this point. Doesn't matter that you have the numbers. Fofo able to find the massive play, and it looks like Rare Adam are just going to go for the end.
Yep, they have the Baron, they have the minions, and they had a teleport as well. So minions now flooding into that top side. They're going to be able to try and take down this first Nexus turret. There are 2 people available here for the side of TT, but there's only so much you can do as RA continue to batter you down and push you back. There's nowhere for you to go. Even the first arrow to hit this entire game doesn't really do much, and they're actually going to see if they can try and turn this one around. This Ashe is actually doing a lot of damage, but not quite able to finish it off. It was a little dicey towards the latter part of that fight, but it is RA who take the win in game 1.
Yeah, I'd say expected result. Maybe the way we didn't get there was really that expected. TT showing us some spunk in the early game. We do love spunk here in the LPL, so TT gets some bonus